Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of our webinar. Today, our topic is Innovative Tools for Doctoral Research, AI and Beyond. I'm Sanjana Rahman, the founder of ICOMGAM, Institute for Communications and Gamification Research, and I'm delighted to be your host today. We are excited to have you join us for this dynamic session. Today's event is all about discovering the tools and technologies that can take your doctoral research to the next level across the departments of communications, engineering, and information system. Whether it's AI-powered solutions like ChatGPT or Lucid AI or non-AI tools like Mendeley and Atlas TI, our speakers will showcase how these resources streamline literature management, analysis, and even collaboration. During the session, each presenter will have 15 minutes to walk us through their chosen tools, how it works, what challenges it solves, and why it's beneficial for fellow researchers. We'll wrap up with question and answer segment where you can pick our speakers' brains and dive deeper into best practices. Once again, thank you for staying with us. We hope you find fresh ideas and valuable insights to enhance your PhD journey. Without further ado, let's get started. At first, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Noor Nazdin. She is from Deakin University, Australia, from the Department of Information System and Business Analytics. She is the final year doctoral candidate, and please welcome Ms. Noor Nazdin.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, again, thank you, Sanjana and ICOMGAM, for this opportunity to share my experience in using different AI and non-AI tools throughout my doctoral research. So my name is Noor Nazdin. I'm a final year PhD candidate at Deakin University. My domain is information systems, and my research focuses on the use of telehealth systems for patient-provider collaboration in chronic disease management, particularly within Indigenous Australian communities. Because of my research context, I mainly use qualitative methodologies. Thus, a lot of the tools that I will share today are for helping with qualitative data analysis. To give an overview of the presentation, so I will discuss how I use AI and non-AI tools in literature reviewing, idea generation, reference management, and qualitative data analysis. I will mainly discuss the application of EndNote, ChatGPT, along with a few of its extensions, and NVivo. I will also briefly touch on 3 additional tools that I think would be very helpful for PhD students. And lastly, I will touch on a few challenges of using such AI tools for research. I wanted to start with reference management. Throughout my PhD journey, I've been using EndNote for reference management. A lot of you may already be familiar with EndNote, although I have seen many PhD students, when they start out, they think that they will not need a reference management software and then they will do it manually. But I can guarantee you that it is definitely a necessary tool to have. EndNote is great because it can automatically format citations, bibliographies, and if you're writing papers that have different citation format requirements, this can be a huge time saver in writing those papers. Additionally, importing references into EndNote is very easy. You just have to download the RIS file that can be found on any article that you're reading. And lastly, it also makes it very easy to search and filter literature within your own EndNote library. One personal tip I have to make the best use out of your EndNote library is to really use its categorization feature. Use categories and subcategories to organize your literature based on the topic and the domain. This makes it very easy for you to find the papers you're looking for when you work on a new research project that might involve different topics even after your PhD. I've shared a screenshot of my personal EndNote library here, for example. It's by no means perfect, but I've seen my supervisors do this really well. So I think it's a good best practice to sort of go forward with your research career. Students can get a one-time purchase of an individual license to use EndNote, costing approximately $160, but always check with your institute. They might be able to give you free access if they already have a license for the platform. Next, I wanted to share how I use ChatGPT to help with literature review. Of course, I'm sure you already know what ChatGPT is, but it is a natural language processing model that can generate, summarize, and screen information. In the beginning of my PhD journey, I did a few systematic literature reviews. And when you do such reviews, you have to scan through a lot of titles and abstracts of different papers and assess if it would be suitable for inclusion in your review. And ChatGPT is very good at doing this. You can give it some background to what literature review you're doing, what it is about, and ask it to read the title and abstract of a given paper and let you know if it's relevant or not relevant. I also ask ChatGPT to tell me why it thought a particular paper was relevant or irrelevant. This way, it can give me an understanding of why it made a decision, and then I can review its decision and make the final decision for myself. ChatGPT can also help with finding papers during your literature review, especially if you're doing a very high-level literature review. It has an extension called Consensus, which was specifically designed for finding research papers. So you can use it to get summaries and insights of relevant papers. And one good thing is it also links you to those papers. So then you can download those papers and do further reading. Sometimes I used Consensus to find papers that I didn't find earlier when I was manually trying to look for literature using databases. So I think that was pretty cool that it led me to those papers that I couldn't get to earlier. Next, I wanted to discuss the use of ChatGPT in qualitative analysis. So ChatGPT can be very helpful, especially during the open coding or line-by-line coding phase of qualitative data analysis. However, one thing you must ensure is that you use a locally installed version of the model that does all its processing in that local environment and does not connect to the internet. This is to ensure that the data privacy of your data is maintained, because a lot of the times when you're coding data, it's interview transcripts, focus group transcripts. These have identifiable or re-identifiable information, and you do not want that data to be used in training the larger GPT model online. I also used an extension of ChatGPT called AI PDF to analyze and read literature. I think this is a really great tool. You can basically share PDFs and ask it to summarize and synthesize key findings from a paper. It can also help answer document-specific questions. So you can ask things like, what theories did this paper use and how did they apply the theory? It makes it very easy to extract, those pieces of information from paper. And at the end, that makes reading a lot more efficient. And in PhD, you have to read a lot. So this really helps in that process. I also wanted to briefly touch on the use of ChatGPT for idea generation. A lot of the times throughout my PhD, I felt the writer's block when you don't know where to start or what to start with. One way I use ChatGPT to help me sort of get out of that is to give it a little bit of a background and context to the task in hand and ask it to provide me an outline of how I can get started. This was a great way to sort of get the ball rolling. And another application of GPT that I don't see getting talked about that much is engaging in conversations with it about concepts. So you explore concepts by talking to ChatGPT. This can be done either through voice-based interactions or text-based dialogues. And many times this has helped me sort of open up my thinking and explore connections that I was previously not aware of. Of course, these types of conversations can only point you towards exploring something that might be interesting for your research, but then you have to sort of go into the literature and find out what is known about this particular area and take it from there. In terms of pricing, there is a free version of ChatGPT available for everyone, but a lot of the extensions that I spoke about are from the ChatGPT Plus version, which costs about $20 a month. I do think this is definitely a worthwhile subscription to get for PhD students. It helps a lot. And additionally, for anyone who might be interested in quantitative analysis, the O1 model that is also available in the subscription really helps with advanced quantitative data analysis. I haven't tried it yet, but I know it's good for that. Lastly, I wanted to discuss the use of NVivo for qualitative data analysis. This is the main tool that I have been using in my personal, PhD journey and my data analysis, mainly because it supports a lot of different types of data. So if you have videos, images, along with your text, it supports you to sort of analyze all of them in one platform. It also supports both manual and automatic coding, but I have to be honest, the auto coding is not the best, but it's there. It is also a great tool to sort of create visualizations from your, qualitative data like word clouds and charts. Visually speaking, they're not the best again, but I will be discussing briefly another tool later on in the presentation that you can use for data visualization, which creates much more aesthetically better data visualization from qualitative data. Lastly, probably my most favorite feature of NVivo is its advanced queries. So you can run queries to explore relationships between two or more codes that appear in your data. And I think as qualitative researchers, this can be a really helpful tool to have. In terms of pricing, NVivo unfortunately does not provide a one-time payment option for its students, but you can get an annual subscription for about $180 per year. But again, with the EndNote as well, just check with your institute first. You might be able to get access for free if they already have license of the platform. I also briefly wanted to touch on some of the key challenges with using AI tools in research. Of course, there's the concern of data privacy. A lot of the data we analyze as qualitative researchers, even quantitative researchers, can contain confidential information. And if you share that with AI, it becomes compromised. So you need to take the necessary precautions to avoid that from happening. And I shared one example earlier, like downloading and using a ChatGPT model locally can sort of help with that. Also, when it comes to using NLP AI tools like ChatGPT, there's also a little bit of a learning curve involved. The output that you get will only be as good as the prompt that you used. So this is why, the topic of prompt engineering is a topic in and of itself. So when you start out learning the basics of prompt engineering from, YouTube or any other learning platform can really help for you to understand how you can get the most out of these AI tools. There are also several limitations of using NLP outputs, just general limitations of the outputs that are coming from these sort of AI tools. So they do hallucinate, meaning that they will make up references or facts and say it like it's really, a true thing. So you have to have a very strong, rigorous fact-checking protocol in place in order to make sure that, all the outputs that it's producing and you're actually using in your research, you're verifying and checking. And that's why it's good to use models that are specifically trained for, research work that avoids this. Like consensus will never give you a fake reference because it links you to the reference. Instead, if you use the normal ChatGPT model, it might hallucinate and give you something that's not real. Lastly, the content that is completely generated by ChatGPT or any NLP AI type models will always lack depth and nuance. This is why I don't think it's a good idea to, or even ethical actually, to use fully generated AI generated content in research papers. The complexity of academic arguments comes from human thinking, and we should never give that up to AI. And this brings me to the famous quote by George Patton: if everyone is thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking. Our thinking is unique to us, it's precious to us, and we should never, give it up to AI. We should only use AI to make it better. Before I end, I just wanted to briefly touch on 3 other tools that I found helpful during my PhD, and also I think other researchers in general would find these helpful. Atlas TI is one of them. I've heard about this recently, haven't used it, but it is a qualitative data analysis software with a GPT model integrated within it. So it's sort of like NVivo with AI, which I think the future of softwares like this is going to be. I've seen a lot of really good papers from top-ranking journals using this in their data analysis, which is great. That means it's credible. People are taking it seriously, which is nice to see. Then there's also Miro. This is a visual workplace and an online whiteboard. It's great for generating, conceptual model diagrams, presenting research ideas visually. If you're a visual thinker, this is a great tool to have. You can also use these images in your presentations and also, in your research papers later. Lastly, I wanted to also discuss about Flourish Studio. This is a data visualization platform. You can import both qualitative and quantitative data here for visualizations. It is definitely much more superior to the visualizations available in NVivo and worth checking out. With that, I would like to end this presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope you find this helpful. And if you have any questions or would like to connect, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Noor Nazneen. And if you have any question, if anyone have any question related to this particular topics, please, you can have your floor now, or we will move on to the next topic. And we can also take question answers by writing that on chat, so we can address that later. And this video will be uploaded on YouTube. So if anyone has any question regarding any of the topic discussed today, we can always reach back to our researchers and we can give you your required answer. Thank you so much. So we will move on to our next speaker now. Now we have Ms. Farhana Zamil Timni. She is a doctoral candidate, Center for Research in Media and Communication from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, UKM. And she will discuss about qualitative research as well. So floor is yours. Please welcome Ms. Farhana.
Thank you, Ms. Sanjana. It's my pleasure to be here. So without further ado, let me share my screen first, and then I will introduce myself. Is that okay?
Yes, please go on.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see the slide.
Okay. So hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Farhana. Farhana Zamil Timni. I would like to call myself a scholar and a researcher because I have spent almost more than 5 years on this. So I'm from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, Center for Research in Media and Communication, in short mention, from FSSK. So I'm a PhD candidate as well. I am a bit of traditional person and old school, but I don't mind integrating with the age-cutting tools, AI. So let's see how I see my journey and how I came this far. So for AI, the first thing I always say, am I using it as my shortcut, or am trying to be more perfect on my journey about my thesis? So I guess, yes, I would like to call myself a perfectionist from my capacity. So yeah, I do use AI sometimes, and let's see what are they. Okay, so I would little go back. I will bring you to the chapters, the basic chapters that we need to go through as a PhD student, or even someone writing their master thesis. The basic chapters or parts of our research thesis are obviously introduction, literature review, methodologies, data analysis and findings, finally discussion and conclusion. Okay, why I'm saying these or putting this here, I have a reason. So when we are doing our introduction and literature review, we need to read a lot, and it feels like when we go to the search toolbar, we feel like we are on a buffet. We want to eat everything. It's okay on our first semester if we go for buffet, we want to try every cuisine. But by second semester, we already should know what are our niche topics, areas, right? So in that case, I will go by traditional tools with AI tools as well. As I said, I'm a traditional person. First of all, I do use Google Scholar a lot for everything. But at the same time, I do use SciSpace. I love this tool. Here, you can upload your PDF and you can chat with the AI bot, and they will give you the summary. What are the main objectives? What were the conclusion? What were the problems? Future directions? They will give you everything. At the same time, if you search for any specific topic, they will give you first 5 to 10 most important research topics or articles. So it's great. I also use consensus, but yes, I will vote for and vouch for SciSpace. So for me, it has always been Google Scholar and SciSpace. What does this SciSpace do? As I said, they help you to find your literature, chat with the literature and the PDF, and give you the specific result. Let me tell you, they have other options as well. You can use the paraphraser option. You can use the editing options. So it's up to you how you're using your tools. Once we find our literature, obviously we start writing. A lot of people may use their AI tools. Hey, AI, write my things. No, this is where you will have to be human and use your brain. So my area of study, my research is intercultural communication and Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. To be very honest, I have found very less literature on the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. But once you're done with collecting your preferred food from the buffet, you will have to start writing and editing. First, I always do free flow. I start writing. Whatever comes to my mind, I write. I don't try to be perfectionist at this point. But obviously, there are red lines you can see as you keep writing. So there you need the Grammarly. I love it really helps. So I have the Premiere version, and it helps me sometimes to detect the grammar problems, and some help you to structure your sentence in more academic way. Yes, I come from a literature background, so sometimes I be poetic, I be a novelist, so I need more academic support that helps Grammarly. At the same time, you can get help from ChatGPT, Gemini AI, and also SciSpace. I like ChatGPT as well with Grammarly. So if you write if you really give a whole title to it and say, can you help me to make it better? It will help you. So you can use it that way. And then once you are done with writing and editing, checking the grammars, you need to paraphrase. As I said, you need to be very academic as you are a future doctor. You're already a scholar because you have been doing your research on the niche topic since very long. Why don't you call yourself just a scholar already at your area? So paraphrase makes it better. But even if you are taking the help of a paraphraser, make sure you reread because there are some glitches. I mean, sometimes you say they will change the meaning what you are trying to say. So in that case, trust yourself first. What you want to say. Do not lose your voice because you stand out by your voice, by your writing style. Your supervisors already know if it's you or your chat GPT. And I at no cost ready to lose my voice. I will not do that. My writing, my work, whatever it is that is mine, has to present my image. It's me as a brand. So, yes, trust yourself first and then take a little help from the AI because why not? Everyone is using it. It is helpful. So, for that, you can use ChatGPT, Quillboard, SciSpace. And then we have Research Manager. For that, I know people are using EndNote and other tools, but for me, I use obviously I use manual sometimes because well I need to go to another page, do another thing, and then sometimes I already know what is API. How should I do the API format? I just immediately do it manually. But when I do my work in a chunk, in a big uh, manner. So I use Zotero. I use Zotero. Zotero I use also because for UCAM we have specific referencing style. We call it Gaia UCAM. And Zotero has it. They have this UCAM Gaia style. So I can just click, you download it, you keep it in the Word, and you just click it and they will help you. So once you are done your research, you have written, editing, paraphrasing, you have your reference. What next? Obviously, Since, as Ms. Sanjana mentioned before, I'm doing qualitative study on the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh and their integration and adaptation process, I went to the camp in Bangladesh. I had to do interview, in-depth interview, and those interview went for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, sometimes 1 or 2 hours. You cannot limit. When you are speaking to these people who are vulnerable, well, not privileged. They have a lot of things to say. They want to feel connected. They think, okay, she is the one, she's listening to me. She might help me to get rid of this situation I am in. So you cannot limit that conversation. But the problem arises when I try to translate and transcribe those audio files because they, they do not speak in Bangla, they do not speak in English, they speak in their uh, original language, the local language, which a little bit of similar to our local dialect. They speak in Rohingya language. So what I had to do is obviously I had to bring a translator with me. Then I had to translate it in a proper Bangla. Then I had to use a AI tool to translate and then transcribe that audio files. For that, I have found really helpful the TurboScribe AI. But if your audio files are more than half an hour and more, then you will have to chop those files into 29 minutes and all, 29 minutes per file, because they cannot, this transcribe AI or Ottar AI, they cannot transcribe or translate files more than 30 minutes. So it's safe to be within 28, 29 minutes so that you cannot lose any data. So, and then you update the file, and they will give you options from which language to which language you want to translate, and then how many speakers there are. Do you want all those speakers? Do you want them to indicate that speaker one said this and those? And do you want a summary as well? Because what the entire conversation is bringing you into. So that's where I used TurboScribe, but you will need maybe more than 2, 3 email address so that you can use it repeatedly, because one day you cannot translate or transcribe more than 5 files. And I have used Ottar AI as well, but obviously I won't go for TurboScribe. Then you need to analyze your data, right? For that, I have used, as a qualitative researcher, Atlas T. It's really good. And let me tell you one thing. Whether if you are doing qualitative research, obviously you will be finding and retrieving your result through the software, but there is something called assumption. So when you have done all the research already, you know your research questions and objectives, you know your theories, you have some idea about what kind of result there could be. So while coding through Atlasti, obviously you will be using your transcribed data. Also, you can manually add some assumpted code as well. So once you have done coding every data, every file, then you will do a group, you will transfer them into group coding. Means, suppose I'm doing on Rohingya refugees in an intercultural adaptation. So maybe 2, 3, 4 points comes under the same umbrella. So that is called as group code. And those final group codes are your themes, your result. I have used SPSS during my research methodology. I'm not going there anymore because I'm not a very technological person. I'm very much happy with qualitative studies. And once you are done with everything, you have your data, result, everything, you need to present, right? Just like this, you need to present your findings. You need to, if you're going for some conference, your PD or anything, you need to present. Canva is a tool, it's a magical tool that can help you to present, flourish, design, organize your data, your information. So yes, when you're presenting it, you can try Canva. It has a lot of options, but I'm trying to be minimal at this point. So the question is, choose your payoff line. Means, I guess I'm sure you have heard people asking the same question again and again. Is AI replacing us? So it depends on you actually. It depends on you and depends on us. What are we doing? Are we training them to serve us, or are we taking them as a mighty God who will write our thesis? So, as Miss Nazneen said before, that where is your voice? If everyone is speaking in the same tone, then you don't have a voice. Because you see, if we three, all of four are asking the same question, yeah, you do not know us. He or she doesn't have any personal relationship with us. So he will give us the same answer, and then we'll write the same thing. Then there is no difference. And let me tell you one thing. I have cleared my PD. I have attended 2 international conferences. I'm going to attend my 3rd international conference with the very minimum use of AI. So I'm not discouraging you to use AI. Obviously, the analysis tool are important. To grammar check is important, but you can keep it minimum and make sure you have your own voice and you use it. So yeah, I guess, and PhD is not about only jumping the higher hills or doing all glossary things. I guess it's also about acknowledging, as we use the reference, acknowledging the people who are helping you constantly. So for me, rather than my AIs, my supervisors are there who are constantly helping me. So I cannot but acknowledge them, Professor Dr. Latif, Dr. Andika, and Dr. Nazmi. And as I always preach, and I always believe, and my friends also believe that now PhD is not a lonely journey. It's not a lonely journey because you need a lot of reference, right? You cannot write a article even without a reference. Means you are not lonely. There are people and researchers who have written on this very niche topic, and you are referring them. So, and yeah, these are my LinkedIn and Insta profiles in case you have any queries and questions for further. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Farhana. Thank you for walking us through your beautiful journey. And as I personally know you, I know this journey was not an easy one. I know how you overcame all the phases, and yet you are standing still. And inshallah, you're about to cross this finish line. So thank you so much. Do we have any questions for Ms. Farhana? If not, we will move on to the next topic. But before that, I want to inform that you can get back to our speakers anytime. They're very kind and helpful. And anybody has any questions regarding the disciplines we are covering today, which is communications, information system and business analytics and engineering, you will have the speakers to answer your queries at any point of your time. Thank you so much. So now we will move on to our next speakers, Ms. Tasmia Rahman. She is a doctoral candidate of Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering from University Putra Malaysia, UPM. She will add some insights, which is slightly different from what we heard so far. We have heard about qualitative research from our previous 2 speakers, and she will mostly speak about programming and experimental design. So the floor is yours. Welcome, Ms. Tasmia.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sanjana. Thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar and share my insight with you all. Okay, so let me just share my screen first. I hope it's visible.
It's visible.
So,
yes.
Okay, thank you. So before I start the presentation or just the, sharing my insights on what I have done during my PhD, I'd like to introduce myself. So I'm Tasmia Rahman. I'm doing my PhD from University Putra Malaysia And my research topic is basically about agile data-driven customer engagement framework for dynamic tariff design in power industry. So in a easier term, it's about energy management. Yeah. So I'm from Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. So when we talk about our research journey or in our PhD journey, I would like to share the easiest and the step-by-step structure that I have done so far. So before we start our research, we have to actually understand what our research is about, right? So for that, the good thing to do is start with a literature review or a systematic literature review. So now what I'm going to share is not only going to help you for your literature review, it's going to be a structure for how to write a research article. So I am sharing what worked for me. So as the previous speakers mentioned about how to search for your articles related to your topic, I would not go inside that. You will search for articles related to your topic using the tools you need. So for me, what I have done when I search topics from different databases, I actually kept a repository for it. So here I used Microsoft Excel and Numbers. You can use whatever you are using, whatever compatible with your OS. So I kept a repository of all the papers, whatever I have downloaded so far. So from different databases, so that whether I'm reading or even before starting reading, I'm just randomly downloading, right? With the keyword, I took a repository for my keywords, my papers, all the numbers are there. So later, when I am reading the paper, selecting them, I have everything under control. So this is the basic you must do for if you're starting a systematic literature review, because you have to mention how many papers you wrote, how many papers you have read, and how many you downloaded, how many comes up when you use a particular keyword, right? So after that, when I'm done with my repository, then I start skimming the papers depending on their abstract and their titles. So that's also I kept inside the repository. There is a different file which will be only skimmed papers. After skimming stage, what I did also again the same thing when I'm reading the entire paper or just using ChatGPT to summarize the paper, right? And selecting them if they are related to my topic. So when I'm done with that, I use all the papers. I save all the papers in Mendeley, and also as Ms. Noor mentioned that while you're saving your references in Mendeley or EndNote, so what you have
Can I
to do
please
is
interrupt you? Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Can I request everybody to mute your microphone, please? Thank you.
okay. So I'll continue. So while you are actually saving all your references, it's a good practice to have them in a particular folders. You can create your folders and then you save your papers in the particular folder. So, and all this I prefer doing before I start writing, because if your references are ready, then it gets easier for you to understand. Then you organize your references and you read from Mendeley, or when you're reading, you are also keeping touch with the reference. And usually what I do is when I'm reading a particular paper, if I'm liking any particular portion of it, I just copy them to a fresh Word document. I mention the reference there, mention the topic there. So later when I go back to my paper and start writing, I have everything ready. I just I read them and I summarize them for myself, but my references are not unorganized. So this is what I do with Mendeley, and then I actually use another tool called Xmind. This is for mind mapping. So here I have shown an example from my own paper what I have done for mind mapping. So in my paper, I had at least 3-4 different topics who are supposed to be connected together. So this is just one of them. And from all the papers I have read, I just created a mind map for different types of, here you can see probably electricity tariff patterns. So this is how I mind mapped all the information I have read so far from different papers. So it actually also helps me when I go to write my paper. Even now, when you actually write your papers, you have to keep that in mind that the reader is coming to read it to learn the topic. They already don't know. They might already be an expert on it. Also, they might be completely have zero idea about it, right? So you have to give them easy things to understand, something to easily visualize. So mind mapping does it for me, and actually also mind mapping does it for me. And if you are submitting to a good journal, they will definitely ask you to provide good mind maps and diagrams, because as we are going towards fast technology, our attention span is also reducing. So no one has when you are scheming a paper, no one has the time to go through the entire writing. When you're scheming, you have to provide some attractive and informative diagrams there, so someone can see and understand what's happening. If they like it, then they will go inside, right? So this is the way of catching attention of your readers, your editors, your reviewers. So after that, another tool I use that helped me a lot, that is Draw.io. You guys might already know about another tool that's called Lucidchart. So this is the open source version of Lucidchart, and it's completely free. So what Draw.io helps me do is it has all kinds of tools, for example, squares, rectangles, anything, and it gives you the opportunity to edit them as you want. So here I prepared my structure of search. So this is one of the things you do for also systematic literature review, or even if you're not doing a systematic literature review, it's a good practice to use this format, use this kind of search structure in any kind of review paper or research article you're working on, because it's a very normal thing. If you submit your paper, it can come back many times. You can get rejected many times, and maybe you've completed writing your paper in March, and it's not still getting published after 1 year. It's a very common thing. So if you have your reference in a list, or if you have everything organized, what you have to do is, when you submit it after 1 year, you just update your reference. You just update your reference in the particular folders, and you just update the numbers in this diagram, right? So it's a very organized way when you are adding more things after 1 or 2 years. So another thing also, you can do different flowcharts. I make different flowcharts. This is an example of an graphical abstract. So this is another thing, another good practice I would suggest if you're submitting to journals like Elsevier or the high rank Q1 journals. So it's a good practice to always add a graphical graphical abstract with your paper. So when someone opens it, they can understand the entire what's happening, the entire thing. Because if you don't, because there are many journals, they will actually they will ask you to do the graphical abstract. So if you provide all the things, it increases your your chances of getting published earlier. Then after doing all this thing, we come to research. After starting the writing, actually, I do all the diagramming and everything, organization. Then I do, when I start writing, these are the tools that our co-speakers already mentioned about, that we have Quillboard for paraphrasing. Still, you have to read them, but it's a very useful tool. If you are using the the paid version, you get more options in Quillboard. Also, another thing I recently have came across that if you're using Quillbot, now even Quillbot, as they mentioned, they are also AI. So before it was mentioned as an AI tool, Quillbot did the exact same thing, right? It takes your writings, collects the words and paraphrase them depending and keeping the meaning intact. This is what it does do. So when we add AI name to it, it sounds something very high profile. AI is also this. It's a for me, it's just an algorithm that helps you collect the data. Depending on the data, it will give you an assumption, right? So Quillbot also, if you're using the inside Quillbot, there are different parts that you can change your writing to standard, to academic, to other versions. So if you're using the standard one, the result might not be that good, but it cannot be caught as AI detected writing when your teachers or supervisors, they are checking your, or in the journal, they're checking your writing to be as plagiarized as AI content or no. If you're using the standard one, it won't be caught as AI content. But if you're using other versions, it will be caught as AI content. So keep that also in mind and try to figure out, because in Quillbot also you can check whether your content is AI content, AI-based content or no. So it's a good practice to check out which part, when you're paraphrasing, which part can be used so that it doesn't detect it as an AI-based content, AI-created content. So then comes Grammarly and also ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is basically what I use it for is when I want to learn about a particular topic, I just ask ChatGPT that what does it mean, and make a conversation with ChatGPT to understand more about it, to learn it deeply. So that is what I do for ChatGPT, and then I ask for different places where I can find the papers, or what can be, and after I find the papers, then I come back to ChatGPT. Probably I upload a PDF and I say summarize it for me and give the key points, etc. Things like that. Then I would like to discuss another part of my research, the main part of my research, which is programming-based data analytics. So for me, the tools I use is basically Python. There are so many other other programming languages, for example, R language and other languages for data analytics. But for me, I feel Python is the more flexible and easy one, because Python codes can be integrated with any different kind of other tools. So for using Python, you have to, when you install Python, after that, you have to use an IDE or environment to write the Python code, right? So this Python, for that one, I use PyCharm. I have provided a screenshot of PyCharm, and also I use Jupyter Notebook. So here I'd like to show a screenshot of Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Notebook can be downloaded using downloading Anaconda environment. So basically when I use PyCharm, this is the one I'm using when I'm writing the code on my computer and I'm developing any algorithm. And then I go to Jupyter Notebook when I'm using this algorithm to analyze data and visualize them. So because Jupyter Notebook is, it facilitates a large amount of data calculation, and it happens in the local server, so it's faster. And another reason for using Python, I'd like to say, it has too many libraries that I can install inside Python for different reasoning, data collection. And for example, you can see some examples here. For data collection and web scraping, there is Scrappy, there is Pandas for normal data manipulation and processing, then exploratory data analytics, Matplotlib for visualization. Also, there are so many other libraries. For example, also for different machine learning algorithms. When we are talking about AI, these machine learning algorithms you can create for yourself. So those can be done with also pandas. There are libraries called PyTorch, TensorFlow, Keras, Scikit-learn. So there are so many options you can explore. I'm just giving the information as a starting point if you're interested in it. Then after that, when you are analyzing the data, in my part, then I have to actually connect to a database to facilitate the large amount of data sets, right? So I'm dealing with structural data. It's all tables and numbers and other things also. So what I use is PostgreSQL database. There is a there is an interface you can download called pgadmin. I have provided a screenshot of pgadmin. So then PostgreSQL or pgadmin is a web-based administration tool for PostgreSQL database used for managing databases, creating tables, executing SQL queries. Just to give the information that SQL means structured query language. So if you are any of you are using data and analyzing data using using a database, so you might be interested in SQL language also. That is also very easy. So it's a user-friendly interface to manage PostgreSQL databases and making database administration more accessible. And also this is completely free. You can download it from their official website. And after that, when I'm done with connecting my data with the databases, I already have my algorithms to, analyze the data. And then I want to visualize. So for visualizing, actually, I use Apache Superset. Apache Superset is a open source data visualization and business intelligence tool that allows users to explore and visualize large data sets interactively. So here you can see how we can, this is just an example of how Apache Superset looks like. This also works on the local host. You can share it with other people. You can have multiple users. They can see your data, and it's an interactive dashboard. So if you're sharing with multiple users, they can actually, if they want to, for example, here are data for different product names, right? So if someone wants to see a particular product name, what kind of their count, their discount number, and any other things, they can just click on the particular part and they can see it. So it's an basically interactive dashboard. So this is actually the last part. I'm talking about my research. So all these tools have helped me immensely, and there are also multiple tools, but I want to keep it simple. And yes, so I hope this presentation or this whatever I shared with you guys will be useful for you. And if you have any queries, please get back to us in the comment section or contact us. That's all from me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tasmia. If we have any question, we can ask now, or we can also get back later with the questions. So is there any questions before we move on to our next topic? Okay, if not, we're going to moving on to our next topic. Yes, please.
I think Hasini has raised her hand for a question.
Oh, okay, sorry, I
Thank
didn't
you.
see the raised hand. Yes. Thank you,
Yeah,
Hasini. Please go on.
Yeah. If I use SQL, can I use the extracted information and use the visualization tool to represent the output, or is it two different applications?
So basically, SQL is just a programming language. If you want to extract the information, then use it to visualize the output. What you can do, you can use PostgreSQL when you're using the database. So you can write SQL queries there. And and also in Apache Superset, inside Apache Superset, you can write the SQL queries. So what Apache Superset does is it actually connects with your database. So from your database, you can continuously read whatever data, updated data, all the tables to Apache Superset. Then in Apache Superset, it has a window for SQL query. You write whatever SQL query you want. You can save actually your data, your tables in multiple types when you are using, probably you have a big table, right? So you write
Yes.
SQL query that I want all this data from this particular table, but from only this year to this year. So you can save it.
Yeah, there are conditions. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So with the conditions, you can save it inside Apache Superset. Then when you go to the dashboard in another window, you can just just drag and drop the table inside your dashboard, and then you decide which kind of image visualization you can see. And also inside the dashboard, also you have you can use different kind of filters.
So basically, I could use only Apache for storing data as well as visualization, right?
Actually, storing data, I would still suggest if you store that data in any database, you can use Apache for storing a limited amount of data. It's because if you store your entire data inside Apache, depending on how big your data is, if you store it entirely in Apache, it will be heavy to run after a few times, right? So it's better
Yeah.
to store data in database than read not all the tables. Maybe you have 100 tables. So read maybe one particular table you want to see the visualization of, then edit the table and visualize in Apache. So later, when you keep increasing your work, it will not be slow. It will not consume too much space.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for asking question.
Thank you, Hasini. Do you have any other question? Okay, so we are going to move on to our next topic. Let me introduce Mr. Habil Hadi. He is also a doctoral candidate of Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering from University Putra, Malaysia. He will also discuss about his experimental research design. Unlike the previous first two research we have seen, the qualitative ones, and we have two experimental designs. So Mr. Habil, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Habil Hadi. Let me start my presentation. I am doing my PhD in biomedical engineering in University of Putra, Malaysia, Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. My field or in PhD is about additive manufacturing of functionally grade materials. So for anyone who is not familiar with this, additive manufacturing is commercially known as 3D printing. Functionally grade materials are those kind of materials that mimic the biological structures that exist in human body, in plants, or any biological structure. So for this PhD, there are a lot of software as this is experimental study. So it will include hardware, software, along with thesis writing papers. So it will include multiple softwares. So here, okay, so let me go back to my topic. My topic in PhD is about additive manufacturing of functionally grade materials. So for anyone who is not familiar with this topic, additive manufacturing is commercially or is known as 3D printing. While functionally grade materials are the materials that mimics the structure exist in biological material or structures. So for this is experimental study, which includes hardware, software, and along with thesis writing. So the software here I classified based on their field into mechanical design software that I used during my PhD, electronic designs also that used for designing electronic parts, sorry, and the software that used to run the 3D printers, their firmware also, and other software that I use to learn those things, which is AI and other resources. So when we come to the application, first we come here to the mechanical design. The tools here, I will not go in details into the softwares, but I will point out based on my experience, like how I learned those softwares and how usually I use them. So for the mechanical design, there are multiple softwares that beginner can use it to gain experience in this field, which is Shopper 3D. This application that runs on iPad, it's easy for beginner or for those who they want to draw a concept of what they want to design. So this is the first step in design. You use on iPad. After that, you go to another application. This is the Shopper 3D on iPad. After that, when you draw your concept, you go to another more complicated or more sophisticated application, which is Fusion or SolidWorks or Solid Edge or NX or any other application. So these two softwares, they can be used together to do most of the works, from 3D design to simulation to finite element analysis and all other engineering works. The second thing is electronic designs. There are multiple softwares I used during my PhD, but where did I start is Fritzing. Fritzing is the simplest way, simplest program for PCB design, which is integrated with the programming and all the functions that someone needs. However, this program is for beginners. So for someone who want to learn, this is based on my experience, is the first step he should take. For 3D printing software, when you go to 3D printing software, there are multiple softwares that someone can use, and most of them are open source. And also, all of them are based on each other, so they are similar somehow. Okay, so here, when we come to AI tools, what's the benefit of AI tools? Based on my experience during my PhD, I used AI tools mainly to start learning one of the things that I want to learn. If it was mechanical design, if it was electrical field or PCB design, I use it as a tool to start the learning process. Well, in thesis writing, mainly tools like Quillbot, Grammarly, Mendeley for citation, or Quillbot and ChatGPT for paraphrasing. So I want to go to show here the steps that I use in practical studying and theoretical studying. In a practical study, usually I use ChatGPT if the field was so new for me, I don't know anything about it. I use ChatGPT to know at least what is this topic. He gave me keyword or guideline how to learn, so I can start searching for them. After that, I go to open source platforms. Open source platforms like GitHub, Stack Overflow, Reddit. Those platforms, you can follow people's inquiries, conversation, like when they talk about the same topic or same issues that you want to follow. You can learn from them a lot, actually. Or you share your issue or the things that you want to learn, so people may help you. After this step, I go to Draw AI, that drawing or any application. Draw AI is the open source software. So to draw a flow chart for the steps that after you get little knowledge, you draw the steps how to become professional in this topic. After that, for example, if it was a mechanical design or PCB design, you go to reading books and reverse engineering of the component that you have. Maybe at home, maybe you buy a component, you disassembly, you learn from it how it's designed, how they use it, for example, in PCB or PCB design. So for these things, step by step, someone can be professional. But how to start this learning from the beginning, I prefer usually AI tools. Well, for thesis writing part in the PhD, also the same thing. If someone is not very good in thesis writing, he can also start with AI tools to give him the steps how to learn. Okay, for example, the types of research for master or PhD or the bachelor student. After that, he goes, when he learn little, he go to literature, then study little, then again, he draw a flow chart on how to proceed in his learning. After that, he read, then he read and write his thesis or paper or anything. After he write it, then he will paraphrase it using ChatGPT or Quillbot to enhance the language. And I want to pin out for using Linux for special for engineer students. It was bachelor, master, or PhD. One of the most important things I see it is to use Linux or get used with Linux, because most of the application or software you can see it exists on Windows or Mac. They are based on open source software from Linux. So there you can find it. You can find actually good applications that you can learn from them, and there are not too many resources on it. So you go on GitHub or Stack Overflow, you see a lot of people there, they use it. You can address your issues, people they help you or you help other people. You learn a lot. So if you go, for example, for PCB design, like you start from freezing, then you go to intermediate to professional level, like KCAD or these all are mainly Linux applications. The same thing like flowchart when you use Draw AI, IO, sorry, or 3D design, for example, you go to FreeCAD or OpenSCAD. All these are mainly Linux softwares. So for this, instead of I go in details into the applications, I just want to show here, I like to show here the steps of how to, I use it, how to learn this softwares. Thank you. Any question?
As we wrap up, I'd like to thank all of our speakers for their valuable contributions. We hope this session has sparked fresh ideas to enhance your research journey. Please stay connected, share your takeaways on social media, and keep an eye out for our upcoming events. Once again, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Have a wonderful day.